This Moose Belongs to Me by Oliver Jeffers. For Mac and Adriana. Are you guys ready? Okay, let's do this. Wilfred owned a moose. Guys, that's Wilfred and that's his moose. They look very happy. He hadn't always owned a moose. The moose came to him a while ago and he just knew that it was meant to be his. Look at that. He thought he would call him Marcel. Now guys, he happened to come across a moose and he just would like to make him his. And he would like to even tag him. And well, he named the moose Marcel. That's his Marcel, everybody, and that's his, okay? That's not yours, that's not mine, that's his, that's Wilfred's. Okay. He began following Marcel, explaining the rules of how to be a good pet. Now, guys, now, Wilfred had some expectations, as he is he is a pet owner and he likes to have some of the things done. He has some expectations. And as you can see, he's imagining Wilfred being, serving him dreams. And that's number 3, guys. Well, he has a list and he has the rules. Much of the time, it seemed as though the moose wasn't listening. But Wilfred knew he was. Mostly because he followed rule number 4 very well. Not making too much noise while Wilfred plays his record collection. Now guys, he had, sorry about that. He had all these rules and well, it looks like Wilfred only followed rule number 4, which was not making noise while he played his record collection. Guys, that's Wilfred, and that's, well, he was Marcel, apparently. Sometimes the moose wasn't a very good pet. He generally ignored rule 7, going whichever way Wilfred wants to go. Now, guys, sometimes Marcel was like to be on his own and would like to do his own thing, but here Wilfred is like, these are my rules, you have to follow my rules. Rule number 7 was to going wherever he goes, but well, Marcel seems to just likes to be himself. The moose had a very good sense of direction, and Wilfred did not. And because the moose was particularly poor on rule number 7, which was, subsection B, maintaining a certain proximity to home, Wilfred quickly learned to bring some string along on their outings so he could find his way back home. Now guys, when they are out, he had to bring some strings because, well, Wilfred was very poor on following rules and he had to get home, as you can see. He just likes to be on his own. Sometimes the moose was an excellent pet. He had no trouble with rule number 11. Providing shelter from the rain. Now guys, that's rule number 11 and he loved that. He obeyed that. On rule number 16, knocking down things that are out of Wilfred's reach. Good work, Marcel. Well, that's done too. So guys, well, he did follow some rules. One day, as Wilfred discussed their plans for the coming year, on a particularly long walk, he made a terrible discovery. Now guys, they're in a particularly long walk, guys, as you can see, and I think they made something. They made a discovery. Someone else thought they owned the moose. Oh, Rodrigo, you are back. Guys, apparently his name is Rodrigo. Wilfred was dumbstruck. This moose was Marcel, not Rodrigo. This old lady was mistaken, and Wilfred thought it only proper that he correct her. This mouse belongs to me, he explained. And to prove it, he called Marcel. Heel, Marcel, heel! But the moose did not respond. He seemed more interested in the old lady. Good Rodrigo. Okay, guys, well, I don't think he's healing. He is just ignoring Wilfred, guys. He does seem to be Rodrigo. Embarrassed and enraged, Wilfred rushed off for home. Fine. But in this haste and miles from anywhere, he tripped over his strings and got tangled up. Oh, guys, well, he had laid this biggest string for him to get home, but I think he got some trouble with it. And there he lay. Wilfred was beginning to get a little bit worried. It was past his home time now, and the munch dolls would be out soon. Now, guys, there we go. He's in the deep dark forest, outside the deep dark forest, and all his strings are all tangled up, and he needs to go home now, but, well, he's outside, and it's already past his home time. Well, he's in trouble. He had just ruled out the last of his options when along came the moose. Now, guys, he was thinking about all kinds of dangers that followed, and he was just being prepared. He was just being prepared. But then again, when along came the moose and performed rule number 73 brilliantly, rescuing your owner from perilous situations. And look at that, Mr. Moose coming to the rescue, following rule number 73 and everything. That's great. All was forgiven, and perhaps Wilfred admitted he'd never really owned the moose anyway. Now, guys, well, when he was in his when he was in despair, he thought about everything. He thought about how he really didn't own the moose. And it was really wrong of him. But then again, look at that. Look at that. He admitted to himself that he never really owned the moose anyway. And look at that. They're just going home now. With that in mind, he and the moose reached a compromise. The moose would agree to all of Wilfred's rule. Now, guys, as you can see, I think they are just, well, they made terms. They made terms and they made some compromises, and I think they agreed on something together. Whenever it suited him, now, guys, he has agreed to, well, some of the Wilfred's rule, but he was only going to do it whenever it suited him, as you can see. Whenever it suited him. Dominic, you're back and you brought me an apple. Oh, guys, there's another person claiming that Moose is his and his name is Dominic, apparently. That is so funny, guys. This is a really interesting book, don't you think? Look at that. Wilfred owned a moose. He hadn't always owned a moose. The moose came to him a while ago. He just knew that it was meant to be his. He thought he could call it Marcel. Most of the time, Marcel is very obedient, abiding by the many rules of how to be a good pet. But imagine Wilfred's surprise when one dark day, while deep in the woods, someone else claims the moose as their own. Is Marcel really Wilfred's pet after all? An exquisitely illustrated, witty and thought-provoking story about whether any of us really own anything. From international picture book sensation Oliver Jeffers. Well, it is thought-provoking, guys. It is thought-provoking. An exquisitely illustrated, witty and thought-provoking story about whether any of us really own anything. Any of us really own anything, guys. Look at that. This is such an amazing book. This mouse belongs to me.